You can't talk to anybody down there. It's just.
Oh, we're live.
Well, I better be quiet. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Hey, Jawn is back on tonight. My niece Lauren told me over Thanksgiving break that she's watched the show, so I knew it must continue to go on no matter how tired and battered by wind and sea I am. We have had 2 weeks off, so not sure if we will be rusty or fresh as daisies popping up on a clear summer day. I just ate 2 slices of pizza, so I'm fueled up and ready to go. Picking up the OG in 10 minutes and then heading over to Broadcast Central, where Nathan will have lit the stove and banked the fire for a 90-minute chat about who knows what. Won't you join us? There's coffee in the kitchen and a box of donated costs by the back door in case you get chilly. We'd love to have you take part. Maybe Lauren will be tuning in, with her Staunton socks on from Made in Downtown Staunton. Let us know how much you missed us while we were gone. Nothing like family telling you they love ya.
Man, I think we're a...
Three little frogs sitting on a log. One of them fell in. One frog said to the other frog, well, you better go get him. Two little frogs sitting on a log. One of them fell in. Last little frog, he sat and thought, good thing they can swim. Jabberjaw, 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 Jabberjaw. Three little frogs sitting on a log, one burst into a grin. One frog said to the other frog, wonder what's got into him. Two little frogs sitting on a log, one laughed until he is red. Last little frog, he sat and thought, must have been something I said. Jabberjaw, 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 Jabberjaw.
Again, she was just like, what in the world?
Here we go. And we're live. Bing, ding, 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 ding. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're back. Better than ever.
No, speak for yourself.
The holidays have been survived and enjoyed. And we are now back with you live here on YouTube, on Twitch, Facebook. Good to see everybody. Tell your ma, tell your pa, share, share, share. Invite everybody over here. Let's hang out. This is Kyle Hogg, Steve Moore. I'm Nathan Moore. You're watching Jabberjawn at your service. Yeah.
This just came to my mind. You said something about Cher. I just read that she has a #1 hit now, or
What?
top 5
I
or
haven't heard
something.
this.
It's the 7th decade or something she's had a hit. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000 teens, and 20s.
That's amazing.
Isn't that weird?
It is amazing.
I
Yeah.
know.
Plus, she's still hot.
Oh, I guess you made a post about her from the Thanksgiving Day parade.
I did. She knocked me off my feet.
You were inspired.
I was inspired. I was ready to go play some tackle football. That's what I put up
I wonder
there.
if she was playing the song you're talking about. Have you heard it?
I haven't heard it. I just read that somewhere today.
I think she might have been doing one at some point, but she was right before Santa Claus. And, of course, all the men didn't even see Santa Claus. But she was very, she's still pulling it off, let's put it that way.
Uh-huh.
She and Dolly both are pulling it off pretty remarkably. They're the epitome of what we would like to try to pull off at that age.
Mm-hmm. So you have a newfound I don't know. For your age group, you have some new wind in your sails.
It put a little breeze in the sails, but you're not getting a whole lot of breeze these days, if you know what I mean. It's not really that windy up there anymore. But we can dream and we can remember.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what it's all about.
Silas, welcome to the show. Good to see you. Ben, Saul,
So,
are you home yet?
Gosh, every time you mention his name, are you home yet?
I know, he's always somewhere else.
That's his full name, I think.
Cather's in the chat. There was a crossword clue asking the doll that outsold Barbie one year. What doll outsold Barbie one year?
Is
a crossword question?
Cabbage Patch a doll?
The answer is Cher.
Oh, wow.
Just not to keep you hanging for too long.
They had Cher
But
dolls?
a Cher, yeah.
I didn't even know there was a shared doll.
I'm intrigued. I want to know more about
I would have
this.
ordered one.
What year would that have been?
I don't have a problem with Cher. Although I thought she could have done a whole lot better than Sonny at the time. I thought, but people make mistakes.
Right.
And she didn't really know me, so it's not her fault.
They were a good team there for a second.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Sonny was fine.
Needed somebody to sing "I Got You, Babe" with.
Oh yeah, they pulled it off pretty good. I like.
Hey, Heather. Good to see you.
Hi Heather.
I looked over there like she was over. Like, where have you been?
Where'd you get pizza?
Brothers Pizza out across from TJ Maxx.
By the slice, or?
Yeah, it was a very, very strange experience.
Wait, which brothers?
Out across from the old Stanton Mall.
Okay. Up by the Food Lion? Or
Yeah.
On the hill.
So I go up there, and I had to get something at TJ Maxx, so I thought I'll run in to get a slice and a beer, and I'll be out of here. So I go in, and there's 3 people behind the counter that just ignore me for like 3 minutes. And I didn't know what to do, so I was like, oh, I act like I got a phone call, and I walked out. I was like, man, whatever. So I went and did my shopping, so I came back, and I noticed there was a sign, seat yourself, we'll come wait on you. God, I'm not talking bad about this place. It was actually pretty funny, but it was funny you had to be in the right spirit to find it funny, I guess. So I go sit down, and I'm just sitting there for like 5 minutes, and nobody comes. And so I go over there, and the woman's on the phone. She's like, "Damn, I'll be over there in just a second." Oh, when I walked in the second time, this guy just sitting there by the door yells, "Welcome to Waffle House," which sort of took me by surprise.
He was just a rando.
So she gives me the "Damn, I'll be with you in just a second." I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's a friendly place here." So I go sit down, and the food was actually very good. The beer was cold, and it was a nice time. But I was like, "Man, this is the most unfriendly place I've ever." And like, I was the only person there for a while. Just tables with dirty dishes and food on it, nobody cleaning them up or anything.
Have you ever been to a restaurant because it became a trend for a little while where they would be purposefully mean to the customers, like that was part of the
I've heard of it. I've never been, but I've heard of that
appeal.
thing. Yeah.
Sort of like the soup Nazi on Seinfeld or something. But
New Jersey had one of those places. They didn't insult
you ever heard of this?
No.
Yeah, they didn't insult you, make fun of your clothes or your haircut or whatever.
Right. That's the whole thing. It's a whole subgenre of restaurants.
I've never heard of such a
mean
thing.
to you.
No, they weren't. I think they were. I don't know why they were doing it. But when they didn't even look up at me the first time, I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe they're trying to tell me don't come in here."
I like the faked phone call to walk outside. So what did you do? You faked the phone call.
I was just
walked outside and then talked yourself back in.
Well, no, then I walked over across the parking lot to TJ Maxx, and so I did my shopping. So then I came back and I thought, all right, I'll give them another chance. Maybe they were just busy. And again, they didn't look up at me, but I saw the sign, like a handwritten sign, "Take a seat, loser. We'll get to you when we can. We'll get to you if we want to." But I recommend the pizza. I was telling a friend about it. He used to work at the mall, and he said they've always been that way, but he agreed the food was pretty good. So if you want to be treated...
I'm confused. There was a Brothers Pizza growing up.
That was at the mall.
Down on Beverly.
Oh, yeah.
Is that still a Brothers? By the old Big Lots?
No, that's what is that now? That's a Italian restaurant or something.
So is the one that you went to have any relationship to
You know, I don't
Brothers?
know. I remember when I was a kid, there was a Brothers out at the Stanton Mall that was really good. But like, there was like Italian guys working there. When I went last night, it was 2 guys in camo and a woman in a camo hat. Just, just. It looks like, the whole parking lot looks like you'd pick up a prostitute and buy some weed or something up there. It's like a very dark, like if the cops came, you could just take off out of there and get away. That's probably why they didn't wait on.
all the street lights have been hit with rocks.
I didn't know the code word when I came in there. Welcome to Waffle House.
That was strange.
They must have carted him out because he wasn't there when I left. Also, when I left, she goes, "How many beers did you have?" Like, you brought them to me. I know you know how many I had. And then she goes, "I've got to pay for it." She puts it in the machine, and she's like, "Oh, it's not working. I got to put it in the other machine." I'm thinking, man, I'm going to check my thing when I get home. I've been charged twice.
Ooh. That hurt.
God, the pizza place must be watching me, brothers.
Wow.
Sorry, brothers. I said the pizza was good.
Where did that come from?
That was probably my fault.
But also, the pizza was so good that when I left, I ordered a large pizza to take home.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So I ate 2 slices there, and then I was like, man, I could eat some more, but I didn't want to sit there with them.
You brought a large pizza home?
Yeah.
That's good move. And you'll just throw that. How do you eat that? How do you reheat your pizza? You eat it cold?
I'm terrible. I throw it in the microwave.
Oh, the microwave. Oh.
I know, it ruins it, but
It sort of ruins it,
Yeah.
but doesn't ruin it.
yeah, it doesn't ruin it. But it's nothing like when they first brought it out, man.
Do you have a toaster oven?
I do. I actually got one of those air fryers I've never used. My family gave me that last year for Christmas.
You might want to whip that out for these pizza slices.
I've got it sitting there. I just don't know how to use it. I mean, how long does it take to figure it out? It's just one of those things that this is new. I don't know how to use it.
I can come over and help you figure it out.
Hey, but I want to know did you end up getting the max for the minimum at TJ Maxx?
Oh, what's that?
I don't know what that is either, but I got a bunch of crap. Oh my God, and the poor woman broke my heart. She was the nicest lady, was checking me out. And she said, "Oh my God, I love everything you're getting. You must be a great husband and a great father." And I was like, well, I don't want to ruin your Christmas spirit, but I'm neither one of them. So I just gave her a, "Oh, thank you."
Oh.
Maybe she was checking you out.
No, she was talking about her husband. My husband never does stuff like this. He never gets stuff. A very good friend of mine at work, his last day is tomorrow, so I wasn't actually Christmas shopping. I was just buying him a bunch of gifts for his last day. But then I found a bunch of stupid Christmas gifts. We were talking about share dolls. I found a Mariah Carey
Ah.
Funko. You know what Funko is? Those big-headed dolls.
No, like bobbleheads?
Sort of, but they don't bobble.
Right.
I'm sure he'll love that as a Christmas gift. As a gift.
And that's a new?
Well, it was on sale for $5.99, so it must not have been a big seller.
Right.
A Richard Simmons doll.
A Richard Simmons
It bobble.
doll?
It bobbles. Well, that is a bobble. His head bobbles, and it says uplifting messages.
Wow. God, who is that for? Kids don't know who Richard Simmons is. That's some strange marketing going on there. That's some
so
2000s
people
products being pulled back out. They found in the back of the warehouse somewhere.
If you're living out of town, Stanton's the place to be. Christmas shopping, take the bus down to Stanton.
People on Facebook are raving about the new Cookout. There's a new fast food restaurant down by the Olive Garden called Cookout. You heard of this place? 45 different shakes.
I've been to the one in
peanut butter
Waynesboro.
shakes. Oh, you've been to one?
Yeah, because they're in Richmond, and all my nieces and nephews and their boyfriends and girlfriends rave about them.
What do they have besides shakes? What are they
Corn
raving about?
dogs, burgers. Oh man, one time, my nieces and nephews are at the age, if you text them, if they respond within 3 or 4 days, you know, you're lucky to hear a response from them. But one time I was in Waynesboro, I said, hey, I just pulled up at the cookout drive-thru, what should I get? And my phone basically blew out of my hand. They're all, get this, and get this, and get this. I was like, that's probably the way you all always are. Read my text and just put the phone down, don't respond. But they
So
had
there's
all,
a cookout in Waynesboro?
yeah, it's like a McDonald's or something you drive through.
It's just another fast food.
Yeah.
place.
It is.
But the kids love it.
Yeah,
But
apparently
it must be pretty new.
got a
I've never
thing.
really heard of it.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it either. That's what was so surprising to me is everybody was comparing it to other ones, and
Where
I
are
used
they?
to love
Where are
the
they
one
out
in-
of?
I don't know.
I'm just,
I'm guessing North Carolina, but I could be wrong.
sounds about right. For some reason.
I'm excited. I'll go check it out. Apparently, the staff is really they're all on the same page and trying to make it a whole overly pleasant experience. Whatever.
Well, that's good.
Isn't there
The
another?
manager's in there chiming in all the time. I like her spirit.
Damn, I'll get to you when I can.
There's people in there like, oh yeah, I remember when the one in Harrisonburg opened. They were really sweet at first too. Just give it time. And the manager's in there like, if you ever have a less than pleasant experience,
Oh,
you let me.
okay.
We're gonna keep this up.
Isn't there another place too? I keep seeing ads for that chili Frito thing.
What?
Oh, what's it? There's another place out there
I love those.
besides Cookout. It's like basically in the same area,
And they sell those.
but they have like that wrap thing with the chili and the cheese and the Fritos in it. 99 cents. Man, I've had to.
I love the Frito pie thing.
I've wanted to go out there so many times, but I held back.
There's some places that serve them. I don't know if it's like the street in New York City or whatever, where they just like cut a slit down the bag, and they build the whole thing. In the bag is in the bowl, and then they put the chili on top of the Fritos, and then cheese on top of that.
I could probably make that at home in my air fryer.
Yeah, you probably could.
Instead of ruining it in
Just
the
eat it
microwave,
cold.
I'll
Just
put it in the
nuke it
microwave.
with
The,
the bag.
Fritos are all just soggy. And
The bag
limp.
is welded to the.
I pick it up, it just explodes in my face. Yeah, the air fryer. I hear that's the wave of the future from a couple of years ago.
It's that was a big trend there for a while. Everybody was getting air fryers.
So you have one? Do you use it very often?
We have a toaster oven that has an air fryer setting, but I don't know if that's quite the same.
So I have an air fryer too, and I don't know how to
You,
use
you
it.
ever use it?
I don't know how to use it.
We're both sitting there.
I need someone out there to come to my house and give me a lesson.
Well, after I have a session with Kyle, I'll walk up the road there and
Yep.
we'll figure yours out.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go out to Brothers and get a pizza the day before. Then we come over, we can heat it up with the.
Test drive it. I loved your tribute to Shane McGowan, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Can you?
I don't know why that upset me so much. I mean, it's a natural, normal thing to say.
you remember the
rest in
Pogues?
peace.
No.
I feel like you had a Pogues cassette or something when I was a kid.
What is a
But
pogue?
they were like a punk-infused Irish music, but they had some really super accessible, great songs too.
I was into some Irish music, but I don't remember them.
Mm-hmm.
Shane grew up supposedly with a bunch of like traditional Irish music and put it into the punk theme.
But probably their most famous song was "Fairy Tale in New York," is a Christmas song. And the bells were ringing out for Christmas Day.
And hadn't that been banned? They can't play it on the radio in America or something?
It does have the word faggot in it.
Oh, is that what it is? Like a very beautiful song that people get disturbed that they don't play it enough at Christmas time.
It's such a great song. Yeah. What, has it been banned for a long time?
I read about it all the time, in the music things of, it's this time of year again where we can't hear one of the greatest Christmas songs. That, we got to hear Mariah Carey or whatever that lady does. Who is
You'd
that?
recognize this song
Yeah.
if I started playing it. is such a great song.
But you can't play it?
I guess because of what he just said, yeah.
I probably shouldn't say it again. Did you hear me? I was looking at Kyle. What's that? I don't think so. We get a copyright strike. But, I mean, it's just in England, it's just a cigarette. It has the word faggot in it.
Right. I think a faggot used to be a stick, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sticks.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I could admit, that's the only thing I could think of that would make sense why it was banned. But
when I say banned, by who?
That's a good point.
Well, I guess like any song, like if you use the F word, they're not going to play it on the air, you know.
Yeah, but is there an
The F
agency
word is
that
not
actually
faggot.
bans the song?
No, just sort of.
Like they can't play it on the radio. Like if you turn on the Christmas music, you're not going to hear it.
I guess,
You know.
I guess the FCC would have something to do with the radio.
I reckon.
I mean, there is that. There are rules against profanity on the public airwaves.
Right.
But everybody knows the song.
Mm-hmm. But reiterate what you were saying in your tribute.
Oh, because I woke up, I see it all over, and everybody's rest in peace, which is a normal, natural thing to say. But I was like, guys, the last thing he wanted, he was like a drinker, a rebel rally. The last thing he wanted is to rest or have peace, you know. Oh my God, what am I doing here? Resting in peace, crawling out of the grave. You know, I gotta find something to do. But a bunch of people that I really respect and love had all said rest in peace. And I didn't want to make anybody feel dumb for saying that, or, you know.
No.
So I didn't want to, oh my God, here she comes. Oh, no, thank you. Oh my God, so sweet. But so I just wrote, that I got carried away at work. It upset me. But I've had some people, you're still wearing that? I've had some people comment and say that they agreed with that, so I was glad it worked out.
Yeah, it was well said. Here, one of those posts I probably shouldn't write, but I'm all stirred up with bees in my bonnet. So many people posting for Shane MacGowan to rest in peace. For reals? You think Shane ever craved rest or peace? If he wanted rest and peace, none of us would even know he ever existed. He'd have been home painting watercolors in the backyard and keeping a journal of trains. Shane, I hope you have nothing but excitement and action and loud music and smoke and women and drinks and fast cars and bar fights, and every band there asks you to climb on stage and belt out a couple rebel rousers. Singing with all your heart and soul with not a bit of rest or peace in your voice. Raise hell, Shane, wherever you are. Tell them about all the action and turmoil you were involved in. Make them all jealous. Burn down the lights until the daylight comes, and then start it up again. You don't get those teeth with rest and peace. Much love, Shane. If it gets too peaceful, pull a fire alarm and break a window. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
You wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you wrote that. I didn't. That's great.
Yeah, 7 hours ago, apparently.
I hadn't seen that. That was great.
But I thought about that, like, why do we want everybody to rest in peace?
Well,
I mean, it's a very sweet thing to say. You passed on, rest in peace.
yeah, you're looking at the body there in the grave, and what would you want it to do? I don't think you really. I mean, the body's not going anywhere, so you might as well rest in peace. I don't know. Makes sense to me. Maybe when you get to be my age and you enjoy just kind of doing this, rest in peace. I had a fairly active life at one time, but right now, rest in peace sounds damn good.
Well, maybe that's what it was, too, because he wasn't really that, what is he, was 65 or something like that? He wasn't that old.
Sometimes you get tired being crazy.
Still fascinated by that energy. We live in such a celebration of sobriety culture now that is sort of a new thing in a way. It's like a new paradigm. You don't have any there's no destructive celebrations. There's no genres of destruction.
Wait a minute, you just said what? A celebration of what?
Of destructive behavior.
No, but the first thing you said was
sobriety.
sobriety. You see that?
Yes.
What I see is a culture based on alcohol.
Oh, you do?
Totally. Everywhere I want to go, there's alcohol. I'm the one, I haven't had a drink in 8 years. I know all about that. But the culture we live in that's out there is alcohol fueled.
I believe.
I remember you're the guy that told me one time that, musicians pay for the alcohol. You're buying.
We were basically glorified sellers of alcohol.
You were selling alcohol.
Selling alcohol.
Every bar you went to.
Yep.
They let you play for free and tips while they're making money.
And exposure.
And you're getting exposure, and they're getting the drinkers' money.
There's that Greg Brown line in that song where he's like, where the manager of the bar is like, "All your fans just drink water. I'm surprised you're still around."
Exactly. That's exactly right.
But I think what he's saying is, so much what we hear and see now is like the cleanest, cleaned up. They try to dig up some dirt on you. You don't really see people just out, like Tom Waits or whatever in the old days. You don't have that type of superstar anymore.
Well, I agree that there's a cultural thing. There is that. What you say is there. But I'm just saying, my percentages are a lot different from yours. Where you're talking about where you're living and what you're hearing, and that's true. I know what you're talking about too. But I'm looking at ball games and watching the real world go by, and I'm seeing what they're selling.
Well, they're definitely still selling it, and I know it still happens, but there is we're at an interesting little crossroads of the past and the future. The future seems to be to really, and for understandable reasons. Like it's completely understandable, but I feel like there's another side of the story that I don't really know how to talk about. I feel like the alcoholic archetype used to be a heroic one, and I don't think anybody could understand what I mean by that today.
Yeah, like where's today's like Oscar Wilde's or Dylan Thomas's or
It's a sad character.
The guys that comes out, can barely read his poetry.
Well, I know. Yeah, I hear you, but what I was thinking of while you were saying that is that a lot of this is economics. We're talking about the socioeconomic scale here, because if you get to a certain level, well, let me just say, I couldn't have drank all the alcohol I had that ruined my liver at $6 or $9 a beer. I couldn't afford it. I didn't belong to that economic class. I was a Budweiser at Marino's, and it wasn't because Marino's charged $9 for a beer. It was because they sold a cheaper beer and just gave it to you ice cold, and that's what a working man wanted. Mm-hmm. So that's the culture that's not around anymore, or that we don't see anymore. I'm sure it's still around.
I'm sure that's part of the equation.
Yeah, but I've said that, there's no way I could have made it home living out in the county where I live if I had to pass through 3 or 4 microbreweries on the way home, like you do now. They're just, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. And these are all places that make most of their money off of alcohol. Mm-hmm. They're not making it off of food, they're making it off of alcohol.
Right.
And that's why they have to charge more, but they're also getting a different class of people. You're not getting your house painter going home from work. Occasionally you will, but usually you're going to get somebody, younger people that have some money that are going out for the evening. Mm-hmm. It's a different class of alcohol,
right?
All the way around. I don't know where we're going with that.
but it's also, and I'm not saying this that I agree with. This makes total sense. Like these very no drunk driving and all that stuff. I agree with that all 100%. But like, if you've seen like those old videos, like where they're like they put the seatbelt, you can't have an open container in your car, and they're interviewing people in the 70s or the 80s. They're like, what's a man supposed to do? He's worked all damn day. He wants to have 2 beers on the way home. Back then it was like, you get off work, pop a beer open, and drive home. Wave at the cop. Hey, how you doing? Well, so I agree that that's very positive that we've got rid of that. But I mean, I think, like he's saying, that sort of, get off work and you and your buddy get in the pickup and get a 6-pack and share it on the way home is totally gone. I'm sure it still happens, but you're not gonna.
It's not what
celebrate
we're
it.
talking about anymore.
Yeah.
Not where we live. I don't know. Again, this is all my limited perspective because I'm not out there anymore to see what is happening.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was definitely, with the 60s and 70s and stuff, with the over glorification of debauchery and destructive behavior or whatever. There was bound to be a response to a correction. But sometimes I feel like we've overcorrected to the point where we don't even. There's a lack of appreciation for the dimensional travel a lot of these characters did.
Right. I agree.
That it's only seen as problematic behavior, as a destructive addiction or whatever, that you're the victim of it. You're not like Hemingway. There's no notion that there's any pioneering glamour to someone that lives that kind of life.
Right.
I don't know if I'm saying it right.
This is an old saying that I guess I'd never heard it before until my nephew said it. Me and my nephew were drinking one day, and his mom said, I don't know why you gotta be sitting over there on the sofa drinking all the time. Just y'all having the best time drinking. And he said, Mom, no good story ever started. I was having a salad, and then.
I mean, that's it. I definitely would believe that maybe we do drink as much as we ever drank, but but I still feel like the phenomenon I'm describing is occurring too, which makes me even more scared that it's all just the bad version of drinking. It's all like frat party versions or something. That the archetypal warrior is not out there taking on the demons for all of us or whatever it is.
Right.
Like there is some glorious aspect to the archetypal of the heroic alcoholic that I don't think any kid today could comprehend on any level. Whereas when I was a kid, there were so many of them. Like it was just sort of just an archetype.
Well, almost all the cool writers you read about.
Every
they
author.
They were falling with cigarettes in bed, falling fire in the bedroom because he's passed out. Oh, he took that burn off and he finished up the last 100 pages, on the road or something.
I mean, who would Bukowski be today? Like, what would a kid make of a character like that? Like, how does that even make sense? What is that? What's going on there? Who is this guy? What's that all about? For these people, it's so easy to sit back and be like, well, I've been sober for, yada, yada, yada. Like, that's better. And just denying the glory of your experiences when when you were wasted. I don't know. Like, it's just an interesting topic for me. I like this topic too because I actually, in my heart, know what I'm trying to express, even if I can't do it. But I'm not like, I don't drink like I used to because my body couldn't do it, and I'm just not that brave of a guy. But I'll always have a soft place in my heart for those characters and for that life and for what Shane McGowan was really doing. some people see that as a sad story, like this guy, such a destructive behavior and all this stuff or whatever. But I just know that there's another side to that story that you no longer hear.
I agree.
It'll never be celebrated. We're afraid of celebrating because the kids. You don't want to glorify somebody with a problem because of the kids. Whereas, I don't know.
Yeah, I have this discussion too. When you're trying to tell somebody, like my sister-in-law, she's like, that's the dumbest thing. She asked me one time, she's like a couple of months ago, she was up here and she said, if you could open anything in Stanton, what would it be? And I said, man, I would just love to have a nice dive bar, cheap food, people could get off work and go just sit there and drink and tell stories and carry on. She goes, that's so sad. I wanted to get up and pick her up and throw her out the door and go, well, you're not invited anyway, so don't come down there.
Oh, wow. Yes.
But that contempt in her voice, that's so sad.
I was one of the ones that, it's like when the bars went no smoking. I was always that always broke my heart.
Yep.
And just because like, and it's such a hard thing to describe, especially if you're talking to the wrong person. Like, the conversation isn't going to go well. But I still, no matter how right they are and how much they might have won the argument, they did not change my mind.
Right. And they did not have fun sitting at a bar smoking.
I used to talk about marinas when people used to complain about how they had to burn their clothes after they went to marinas because of how smoky it was. My line was always like, that's how we keep the riffraff out. There was the idea that it's a more hospitable environment for people now that wouldn't go there before. We did not miss them. Right. We did not need them. And now the night is theirs. Yeah. And I'm not impressed by what they've done with it. I'm just not impressed. Like, yes, it's a healthier, more sustainable thing. But
people like that, if they live longer, they just irritate more people.
You're starting to get in my groove here.
Something you said too used to be, and I'm sure even more back, like, our age, probably even more back, like in the writer stuff we were talking about. You didn't go in wondering where the beer was made and comparing the taste. Like, fuck it, give me a beer. Now you got these people, like you said, will pay, oh man, I taste the hint of orange in it. You taste chocolate in it? Yes, wonderful. You paid $9 for a beer. It used to be you just line them up and glasses fall out. Who cares?
Yeah, I refuse to believe that there's anything that interesting going on in a place where beer is expensive and the flavor is important. Like, I refuse to believe there's any revolutions or poetry being fomented in these joints.
Here's what I used to buy. I had it before it was Jake's. It was somebody else. I'd stop there at Jake's, and I was teaching school and raising a couple babies and living out there by the river, and I'd get that paycheck once a month. That's not a good thing, really. That doesn't work.
That's how you got paid once a month.
Once a month,
that's
and,
crazy.
And there's all that money. So I said the first week I drank Michelob, and the second week I drank Budweiser, and the third week I drank Old Milwaukee. And the fourth week I drank Milwaukee's Best. And then we'd start over because I'd get paid again. That's a little story.
I like that.
I just told a story there.
And there was, like, the Michelob was the...
that was the high dollar.
Yeah, I mean,
it took $4
fancy pants over here. What are you doing?
Arena swing.
Yep.
Well, there's a lot of good action going on here in the chat. Good to see everybody. Hey, John Dotson.
Hey, John.
He says heroes need to be perfect these days.
Oh.
And it's so easy to dethrone heroes these days. Cancel them. You're gone. We love watching them fall.
Well,
That's a
true.
very good
Yeah.
observation.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah, any sign of any problematic or destructive behavior, immediately you are not welcome. Get off our radar. It's
Yep.
it's fascinating,
It is.
especially when the heroes I always had were sort of anti-establishment, iconoclastic. They I don't know. To imagine like a genre like punk or something like that, or even like metal, or like anger isn't, there's so many energies that are being diffused, dulled, certainly, I don't know, maybe nullified, I don't know.
Lighter.
Oh, I got you.
But like, I've read a bunch of, like, you read about like
Lighter, Lex?
You read like E.E. Cummings or Dylan Thomas or all these old guys. They do like a college reading tour, and they'd, do their reading, and the college students would take them out. They'd be hungover, could barely get up the next day. And then they'd, like the fourth reading, they'd be so drunk somewhere, and the college wasn't going to pay them. Like, screw it, It's like, I'm an artist, and I can do whatever I want. It was almost like they could do whatever they wanted. It was, if I have these faults, that's what fuels me. Don't pay me, stop me, But like you said, with the publicity now, and they weren't filming these guys up there,
Right.
all stuttering over the words and stuff, So you didn't. I guess maybe
That's true.
I guess maybe like when you and me read that
That's a great
stuff,
point.
you and me read that stuff, and it sounds romantic. But then if you actually had to look at it and go, "Good grief, he's really,"
It's tragic. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Like, I completely understand that it was tragic, and
But it was magical too.
it was magical too. Yeah. And it's even just hard for me to imagine any of those kinds of characters having cultural relevance today. I feel like they would, even Shane McGowan, if he was starting off today, he'd have to take a very different path.
Yeah.
I feel like a character like that is not welcomed.
Some manager would have had him at the dentist after his first publicity shot. We gotta get those teeth fixed,
Right.
Well, he broke my heart on the way over here. We were discussing author he recommended that I read a book by, Brian Doyle. And when I was reading it, the writing style sort of seemed familiar. And our friend Jane had recommended a book by him too earlier, and he had read that. So I was like, oh my God, this is so great. And he goes, well, he passed too soon. And I was like, almost wrecked the car off the road. No, he's not gone. But I hope he had some couple of drunk nights, or did, he seemed like a guy that had been out of the real world a couple of times. And
Yes. I think he had probably done psilocybin and several other things before he was through.
Who's this guy?
Brian
Doyle?
Brian Doyle, his books are like, oh my God, it just knocked me loopy, man. I can't barely, I'm trying to memorize the writing while reading it, like, like barely able to control myself while reading.
Mink River is the one that got me
What's
going.
it called?
Mink River. It's
Mink
a
River.
novel.
Just, oh my God, the possibilities.
Highly
of humans.
recommended.
Oh my God.
Okay. I need a new book.
It's magic.
So maybe he died in some tragic, drunken,
No, I think he was sick.
oh, damn it.
I'm sure it was, well, I'm not sure of anything.
Damn illness.
I think it was cancer, but I don't know. Yeah,
I was
there's
reading
another novel I read I really like called Chicago. It's just about him living in Chicago for a couple of years, and it's just really. But he has such a good spirit about him.
Oh, beautiful.
He makes you feel
American?
Yeah, he's like a latter version of Tom Robbins.
Nature is very
the-
huge nature influence. How
Is
birds.
it Tom
and
Robbins or
flowers.
Tim Robbins?
Tom Robbins.
Tom, yeah.
Tim Robbins is a great actor. Right?
That's right.
Shawshank.
I get them mixed up. I knew that, but I get them mixed up sometimes. But at any rate, they're both West Coast authors. There's something in the water right there, I think.
Yeah, there is.
You've been out there, yeah. You have some of that water in you.
Yeah, I sure do.
I was trying to find it, but I had to pick you up when I was writing that little thing, because he has this thing in his, it's like a maybe a Hawaiian word, or like the book takes place out on the islands. He's out. He decides he doesn't want to live on land anymore. He doesn't have a girlfriend, doesn't have any family. He just wants to get off land and just be on his boat. And of course, 1,000 cool things happen to him. But he has this word, I don't know where it's from, but it means like, stay with the boat, keep your head afloat, no matter what's going on, never leave your boat, never leave like yourself. Fight against all the waves. God, I'm gonna start crying. Just keep yourself together and keep doing what you're doing. Oh my God! And he mentions that a couple of times. It's like, oh my God, it's just so cool. Just the way he describes it, to stay with the boat. And they always wanted him to get off. He goes, no. And like when he's on the boat, like a seagull lands, he's like, I appoint you, second in command. And there's rats on the boat, and he gives them all names. Like, this is my crew. I got the best crew in the world. And it's like the boat gets a hole in it, and he repairs it like 50 times during the book, because it keeps getting washed away by the waves and stuff. And he says, man, when I get old and I go back on land, I'm going to take this piece of wood. This is the best piece of wood ever. It went with me everywhere. We repaired it hundreds of times. This piece of wood never let me down. He just has like this very uplifting, like appreciate stuff while you can type of view to him.
Mm-hmm.
Or
I'm intrigued.
Sort of like also appreciate the things that you don't even know what they are, like the things that, like when I wrote that thing about the pizza place and my dog was with us. The dog wasn't with me, but just like I appreciated that the song came on. I was like, hey, the dog's coming down and look with me. He sees sort of the magic and all that type of stuff, where it's, logically it's not happened, but you just, gives you a kick in the butt and keeps you going.
Mm-hmm. And you don't necessarily know logically that isn't happening.
Yeah, in my heart it was happening, but if somebody said, do you really think it's happening? I don't know if I would have bet money on it if they could prove it. But it's a nice thought to have.
It sure is.
Talking about the alcohol thing, I was reading today too about how people that used to drink to go to sleep are now taking gummies to go to sleep, and the different effects the two substances have on your sleep. I guess they're finding gummies are more calming. You don't get you don't wake up with a hangover or anything like that.
Right. Less problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Karina, that's very sweet. Karina Swing in the chat. It's nice to see people meeting casually, lovingly, and with some camaraderie and consistency. Sharing stories and friendship is what life is all about. Thank you all for sharing yourselves with all of us.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
That is beautiful.
That's a mission statement right there.
That is a mission statement.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty thought. It's funny how things like that will happen. Sometimes you'll start feeling like you're sliding one way and somebody will just do a phone call or just somebody dropping by to say hi, and it just changes your whole world a little bit.
Yeah, life always has a way.
Karina just did that. Thank you.
Life has a funny way of being there for you. The universe.
Well, you have to be open. You have to open some doors.
Mm-hmm.
Been thinking a lot about doors lately. But, it's hard to open doors because there's fear, because you don't know what's back there.
Right.
And but if you never open any doors, then you can just rest in peace. And there you go.
God, that's a perfect way to do it.
But
That's a perfect way. Shane was out there opening doors.
He was opening every door and slamming them, shut and open, just playing with the doors themselves. And he was also saying, well, whoever's in there, get on out here and meet me. And that's that living part that just is so exciting to to see in action and to read about through the novels that these guys write. But, yeah, you're living harder when you're drinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard on you.
It's taking its toll.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but the part I didn't get was that so much of the activity that you call yourself happens up in your brain. And if you look at your brain like it's one organ, well, you know what the largest organ in the body is.
I don't know that I do.
Do you? Quiz time.
The liver?
The liver. So my liver has been complaining to my brain for a long time, but they didn't get any nerve endings.
Oh.
So they can't send any pain messages. So what does my brain do? It ignores my liver.
Mm-hmm.
That's what has happened to me. So if we had had a messenger system that was any better, my liver would have rebelled a long time ago. But it was rebelling and it was dying, but it wasn't complaining.
Right. Interesting.
That's exactly what can happen. Now, I'm not saying that's happening to everybody, but I will say this: every time you drink alcohol, you're drinking poison.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's not healthy stuff. 3 ounces of methyl alcohol can kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put one more carbon on the end, that's ethyl alcohol, and that's what you're drinking. So it's isopropyl rubbing alcohol is not much fun to drink either. So there's not really much in there that's not. It's just that it's just a little molecule, and then just does its local job, and then that translates into all this other stuff.
Did you ever drink anything weird?
Besides tequila?
Yeah.
I was having a tequila discussion today, and my advice to the person I was speaking with was that you need to treat tequila and alcohol as 2 different chemicals. That's my advice over years of study.
Uh-huh.
You do get some different effects there, and I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
there's a little something else going on when you're talking about tequila.
Now, I'm sure you've had moonshine and stuff back in the day, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's like moonshine. I remember when I used to bring it to my dad, and he'd pour some on the porch and light it. It was supposed to burn blue or something. If it didn't burn blue, he wouldn't drink it.
I didn't know any of that, but that is fascinating. Yeah, some interesting chemistry there.
And I don't know if that was just something,
Yeah,
his
I don't
granddad
know.
told
I don't
him or
know.
something.
I've never heard that. But yeah, we used to pass around a little moonshine.
Oh, in the big mason jar.
Yeah,
Sometimes with something floating in it for flavor. Some
Yeah.
kind of dancing berries or.
yeah, you never knew. But you're damn pretty sure there weren't any bacteria growing in whatever you were drinking.
That's true. I remember the last time I saw a jar of moonshine was at the when I went to play when Surprising Mr. Davis played with J-Rad at the Lock-In a couple of years ago, and it started raining really hard, so they couldn't. So the show was postponed. It was a weekend festival kind of thing, and it started raining so hard that all the musicians just wound up under the tent, and there was no show going to happen anytime soon. And in walks the guy with the jar. Now, this is the kind of thing we're talking about. No great story ever started with, well, we had a salad.
Yeah, but moonshine has that hint of danger too. And somebody comes over and they go, "Where'd you get it?" "Oh, my friend in South Carolina made it." You're
Right.
like, "Oh, let me smell it." You're like, "Should I risk it?" And then you get a couple more beers. Like, hand me that
Right.
mason jar.
You watch the people around. That's always my move with anything, any new substance introduced to it. I'll wait about 20 to 40 minutes after everyone else has done it. And if they seem to be having a good time, then I'll do it. I've always been a little bit of a chicken when it comes to that kind of stuff.
We had when we lived in New Jersey. I read this book. Kim Gordon, one of the bass players, or the bass player for Sonic Youth. She wrote a book about her life and stuff, and I was like getting all jealous. Like, man, I know as many talented people. I mean, she's worked in clothing lines and art and all this stuff. And I was like, I know people that are artistic. Why does she get to have all this fun? So we decided. I might have already told this story. We decided to have an art show at our house. So you could do your art, and we cleared out the house and hung up people's art and everything, and people could come for the party, but then they could buy the art. And my neighbor next door was an older guy that we didn't really know, but we invited him over, and he was a bass player. He brought his bass, and they were playing, but he brought some moonshine. And at the end of the night, he had been hitting that moonshine pretty hard. So he bought like the biggest painting there. And he left, and I'd never been to his house. But like a couple days later, I went over there and knocked on the door, and he looked at me like, "What are you doing over here?" I said, "I brought you your painting." And he said, "What painting?" I said, "You bought the painting at the party." He goes, "What party?" I said, "Friday, you were over at the house, and you bought this painting." "I don't want any painting." He had paid maybe like.
Had he already paid for it? Oh
He had no memory of it. He's like, "Just keep it." So I just gave it back to the person. I said, "Man, you got your money," and he didn't want the artwork.
Oh, that's crazy.
But that was his own moonshot he was drinking, and everybody else was sipping it too. But man, I remember it was blueberry, I think.
Do you know anybody that ever made some?
No.
It just always came from mysterious sources.
Yeah, you always got it second hand, or third hand, or fourth hand.
I think you can buy moonshine at the liquor store now, can't you?
No.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, that's just marketing. It's not
Because
the same.
I think there's a distillery, one in Virginia that's licensed to make it.
Legit.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
White lightning.
It's always like peach.
Well, I mean, what's the difference between that and grain, really?
Right. Yeah, that always existed. The grain alcohol.
Yeah, same thing. But I never did understand vodka because, they say it's 80 proof, and it's 40%, and then they say, well, it doesn't have any taste. It's vodka, it should be tasteless.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got up on the top shelf, they got a $35 bottle, and down here it's a $14 bottle.
And it's supposed to be tasteless.
And it's supposed to be a tasteless 80% chemical of the same chemical. Well, what's the difference? Packaging?
Great question. What's it made out of?
City water or natural spring water?
Well, they make it from about anything but potatoes or any
potatoes.
Any type. Yeah, I hear about a lot of the vodka comes from potatoes in northern part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's not supposed to give you a hangover? Is that gin or is that vodka? It must be gin.
Gin's terrible.
Yeah, gin is.
Yeah, I don't drink
It's
gin.
on my list of no-nos.
I always had this rule in my life that never trust a gin drinker. And it was just because like the first two people I ever met in my life that drank gin regularly were not trustworthy individuals. So I just extrapolated, and it's probably inappropriate because
Well, it certainly is.
Yeah, but
I mean, we're losing the entire gin drinking population. We're losing probably 12,000 people.
I'm just saying, if you drink gin, there's something wrong with you.
That's true. You're leaving that kind of vague.
But I mean,
because there's something wrong with all of it.
But I mean, gin and
guarantee
tonic's
you.
a huge drink. Don't people love gin and tonic?
I guess so.
Some
Like
people
gin and
do.
sodas.
Wendy.
Gin and juice.
Yeah.
Wendy says she's made potato vodka.
Wow.
There you go.
Clutch in the house. Better vodkas are often just run through a filter more than cheap vodka. Take a $20 vodka and run it through a coffee filter first, and it becomes like a $40 bottle of vodka.
Man, get all that sand out of
We
it.
ought to start selling them little strainers.
Oh,
Charging $20.
Magpie's in the chat. She's talking about the other side of the coin where the universe can be there for you. It can also be surprised. She says the universe has been kicking me while I'm down again.
Oh,
That's the other side.
Yeah.
Yep. That definitely can happen too.
Just inexplicably.
I'm sorry, Magpie.
Yeah. But hang in there. What is it?
I'm afraid he's.
Stay with your boat?
Are you on fire?
Oh. No.
Oh, that's the end of your pen. Okay. Yeah, stay with your boat. Keep your head
I'm all right.
afloat.
I'm all right, gang.
You did have an interesting
Put that
reflection.
bucket of water down.
He's fine, Lex. He's fine.
Good Lord, Lex.
That was close.
Jeez, that guy's
He
quick.
almost got a shower.
Bucket of
You
vodka.
watch what you're accusing me of.
Bucket of vodka thrown on you to put that fire out.
Yeah, bucket of moonshine.
Man, if I ever open the dive bar, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say I got a bottle of vodka up here with no label on it. You want the $20 one or the $4 one? I can filter it for you. I can just give it to you right out of the bottle. How do you want it? Have a coffee filter just for it. That'll be 18.
Dad used to buy.
Oh, don't tell him that. That
I'm gonna
makes
tell
you,
him.
That sounds like I'm a cheap mother. That's not right.
Like you're a street hooker.
I can't tell that story.
No,
What are you
I was
talking-
getting ready to tell
Wait
him
a minute.
myself.
he used to pour the cheap vodka into a Grey Goose bottle. He would go out. He'd be like, "I got to
I'm
refill."
sorry. I did that.
Because he was entertaining company, wanted them to feel special.
I didn't do it when I was alone. I did it when I was with
I was
Nathan.
alone. I'm even fooling myself. Oh.
It tastes like aristocrat.
little hit of Bowman.
Oh, is this a brand?
Oh God, Bowman's that big old red trademark.
This Michelob tastes like a Bud Light. I'm not sure why.
Here's another example of the alcohol thing and the changing times or whatever. Even like Catherine's watching Madam Secretary now, which is a great show, by the way. But even as recently as Madam Secretary, every office, like successful people drinking bourbon in the afternoon with their colleagues, is in every TV show and movie up until like 20 years ago.
And they usually have a cigarette.
And they all, well, yeah. But it's so fascinating when you see it, like how often.
I mean, it's amazing how many of those offices had little mini bars.
They all had the mini bar. They all had the bar there, the fancy carafes, the accoutrements. I love all the accoutrements. It's like before cigarettes became taboo or whatever, like you look at the antique store back in the 40s and 50s and stuff, like all the accoutrements, the paraphernalia that went with that bad habit were so awesome. Like just
the cigarette box you open up, everybody want a cigarette?
the cigarette, I mean, you got like little things where you open up the thing and it comes right, like it hands it to you or something, like all these little amazing little gadgets and ashtrays and
The lighter's like a drag and it sits on your table. Hit the tail. Beautiful, beautiful piece of artwork there. Yeah, it's a lighter. Ready to have a smoke.
all these things. But I mean, if you saw like I'm sure that the rich and powerful still have bars in their offices. Yeah. I'm sure that still happens.
Probably have the same offices.
Right.
Now, is smoking banned, or not banned, but is smoking like, is there offices in London or Paris or anywhere, or is it just not anywhere anymore you can smoke? Or is it just America?
Oh, is that like a worldwide
Yeah, I
thing?
don't know. I mean, like,
I don't know.
I wonder if they're
Yeah, I
like,
wouldn't know
I wonder if
either.
they're over there in London, everybody's puffing away.
I don't know.
But maybe those times, and I have read this because during like World War II and stuff, everybody's nerves are shot, so they all smoked. That was just the way to calm. So then when they came back and got office jobs, I mean that's a hard habit to quit. So maybe that was just the continuation of the war. And then everybody starts getting sick. They realize maybe this isn't such a good idea.
I mean, a lot of it is like ignorance was bliss kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like for a long time there, 9 out of 10 doctors recommended the Winston Light cigarettes or whatever. Like these are good for you. Like you see the old like doctors with a cigarette while they're operating or whatever. But for a long time, they didn't know it was bad for you. Like, we didn't have that information that it would.
Yeah, the ad would be like, cool, pressure.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like a fucking surgeon doing like life transplant or something with a cigarette.
Yeah.
And that's like the the scary thing. Like once you know that, it sort of changes everything.
Yeah.
Like now, what are you doing? But it was confusing for me that every author smoked.
Well.
It was like, but then I have to realize that it was a different time, and they were blissfully unaware that there was any danger.
I know, isn't that so weird?
It seems hard to believe, but yeah.
Yeah, I was just watching some old black and white movie a couple weeks ago, and the guy came in. He was a doctor, and the guy came in. They were checking him out, Then the doctor walked around behind his desk to talk to him, lit up a cigarette, just telling him what's wrong with it. Like, I don't know why your throat's so scratchy, and because you're blowing that damn smoke in my face. Because I keep coming to see you every week, and I go home, and I gotta burn my clothes. Oh my gosh!
Did you bring a bird this time?
Not really.
Are we retiring that segment? You've hinted at that a couple of times.
I think I can talk about a bird for a little while, and then we'll retire it with this bird.
But you're not just going to retire the segment. You had an idea for a replacement idea.
I thought I'd replace it with not limiting myself to a bird. So anything that I come across, either in the world of ideas or hands-on or
a teachable moment.
something that I learned that I might want to pass on, or
That's a
something
good
that
idea.
I think we all might want to learn.
I like that.
And we could do different formats, and I'll design that. As a teacher, there's a lot of different ways you can teach things. The quizzes are teaching tools. They're not, there's one purpose for a quiz, and that is to see how much you know. But there's another purpose, is to actually help the learning process. So if you ask a right question, get them to think about it, and then come back and talk about it the next day. See, there's a whole lot of learning that's going on there. So that's a different teaching format, but people don't think about that.
Right.
But I also kept those quizzes were my way of knowing what you knew. And that was important to me.
Are we talking pop quizzes?
Both. Yeah, they knew any day when they walked in the room, they knew they could give me could give them a quiz. And it might be for fun. Sometimes I'd give them the quiz and I'd say, if you want to keep the grade, pass it up. I was still getting my data, and I was still using the teaching method, but I wasn't punishing the ones. But I was forcing them to face that they didn't know something I wanted them to know, which itself is an interesting thing to communicate. So I was thinking about that the other day.
Maybe we could do one of your old labs one day.
Yeah. Or I could do them we could just do them in our brains like Einstein did. But
Right.
And then you can go home and replicate it, show something. Yeah, I have some ideas about teaching some basic chemistry, but not right off the bat. It could be that would be something I'd like to maybe do a program of sometimes for, again.
Some of your labs.
Yeah, well, just chemistry lessons that anybody could watch and just have for particular subjects.
Yeah.
I have things prepared, and usually there's a demonstration to go with it. Yeah, that'd be fun to work up.
It would. So what you got this week?
What's that?
What you got this week?
Oh, what bird? Bluebird. Had we done the bluebird?
How could we not have?
I don't think we have, because I was avoiding it because I was waiting, till the right time. But I did want to get to him a little bit, but I don't. This was prepared 3 weeks ago, so I don't. This is, it's funny, this morning I was with my friend Joe Thompson, who is the bluebird person for Augusta County.
What does that mean?
That means Joe has, over the last few years in since he retired, has gotten into building bluebird houses, putting them up and maintaining them. You go up Bell's Lane, all those, he's got houses out there, and then he has them all different, 3 or 4 different places.
Wow.
So he single-handedly is helping the
So
bluebird.
what makes a birdhouse a bluebird house?
Well, size of the hole and the depth of the cavity, and you know, the typical ones that go on a fence post. These are field birds. They like the shrubs along the edge of a field, so they need some space. So I don't have them here in town, but if you get right outside of town where there's any fields, you'll see bluebirds.
You know, the only time I've seen a bluebird in town was at Nana's funeral.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the last time I saw one.
She used to. They named their house Bluebird. Well, it was Bluebird Lane was the name of the driveway.
And Bluebird Hill.
Yeah, she'd always loved bluebirds, and it was definitely her making an appearance.
Oh,
It
definitely.
was unbelievable.
Well, I learned something about that when I was reading the last time, so let me share that with you in terms of that. Because that day we were at Thorn Rose, and what time of year was that?
I can't remember.
It was cold, so it was still, I think, like March or February is in winter, and it was a sunny day, and we were there at the service, and we were all standing, and we had just finished the service, and a little bluebird flew up, and then another one, and there was about 12 of them, but one of them landed right in the tree right next to Mom's marker.
I got a picture of it.
And it was amazing. And then they just went and flew away. Well, I said at the time that it's a flock of bluebirds. But here's what I learned that I didn't know, was that I thought you saw a flock of birds, they were getting ready to come north or south. They were getting ready to migrate. So the bluebirds are out there, and then they come together, and then like those birds you see going across the sky and big cloud, they get together and they migrate. So I always thought like those bluebirds we saw was an early spring migration of bluebirds that was flying up to go north, or just working their way north or whatever. And they were early. But that's not what happens. What happens is the bluebirds don't migrate. In the wintertime, these different families come together and form like a covey from the quail. They form a flock and travel through the winter, eating seeds and working through the woods, but they travel as a flock. So they're not migratory at all. So
I wonder why they do that.
Well, it helps them in terms of finding something, because if one of them finds something rich, they can all share it. For protection, they'll have a lookout, sitting up in the tree, yelling at each other, and the others are down there pecking in the ground. But if an owl or a predator comes around, the warners everybody flies away. Plus, if something's coming after you, and there's 12 of you running together, your odds of not getting eaten are better too.
Right.
If you're by yourself, I think you're in trouble more
Right.
than
It's
if
that
you're.
old thing about if you got 3 friends and you're getting chased by a bear, you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun your other friends.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was interesting that I learned. At this late date, I learned that about bluebirds just a week ago. But the males are the darker blue and a brighter reddish buff here. The females are more restrained, but they still have the same coloration, but they're a little more sober. And they have the little blue eggs. No, they're little mottled eggs. I think they have some blue in them. I'm not positive. But they can have 2 or 3 nestings a year. Joe keeps the records out there of the different ones. I bet I'd like to find out how.
Oh, he's taking notes.
I think he probably keeps records. He goes in and has to clean them out this time of year because they get used up. English sparrows and starlings will mess with them. Other birds will try to get in there, but the bluebirds can fight off most of them. But so yeah.
No, is that the real size of a bluebird?
They're a little larger, maybe, but it's pretty close. They're not a big bird, and they're very subtle, very gentle. Something about them is very gentle. They do have a little song. They twitter in the trees, but it's not a large, loud song, but they do sing. Any other questions? I don't know what else to say.
Just opening my Merlin app to see if we could hear the song of it.
So they're ground eaters.
Did you get any pictures, Lex?
Yeah, he's found some good ones.
Oh, thank you.
Wow, look at that. That's beautiful.
They're a beautiful bird. They have a good spirit about them.
Eastern bluebird. They always say like that, like there's a western one.
There is.
Oh, there is?
There is. And it's a little different. I saw them when I was out visiting you.
Oh. It's making me feel like spring.
Oh, that does sound like spring.
But that's interesting because I didn't know what I told you about suggests that they stay here all winter. So there are bluebirds still around.
Now, see, the sound they make in the Brian Doyle book, there'd be, one of us would be, like something would have happened to us. We would be slow now or something. But we would, I would just basically be sitting here, but y'all would still be my friend, taking care of me.
What's that?
He's playing the sound for everybody.
But
is that a western one or an eastern one?
Is it on a train?
In the world.
The wind is blowing on the mic. Heather says we need a bluebird house at the river. Sounds like a good idea. We should talk to Joe Thompson about that.
We can get one out there. I've had them out there. Again, we don't have the fields. I mean, they're around, but it's not prime bluebird habitat. Even at Trinity Point, it's down in the valley there. Up on the hill, there's bluebirds. They like those fields that are open.
Now, how do birds and bats get along?
Pretty good. They don't conflict very much because bats are nocturnal and birds are diurnal, and they don't really interfere.
Don't people have bat houses that they can put in their yards?
Yeah, anything that they can climb up in and grab onto.
Is the bat the only flying mammal? There's the flying squirrels. You ever seen one of those?
Yeah, but they're gliders.
But they don't. Yeah, they're gliders. They're not flyers.
So no, I would say yes to that. Now they have one that's they call it a flying fox, but it's a form of bat. It's in the bat family. It just looks like a vampire or something.
Man, but, bats, what a trip.
That's one of the scariest things I'm scared to death of bats.
You're scared of them?
Well, they creep me out, man. Oh. My uncle used to take us like down. He would do all these caves. You go down there and you look up, and then you're hanging out there. I'd be out of there so fast. Anything that's flapping around that you can't control, like get away from me.
And knowing they're blind doesn't help.
And they'll bite you on the neck and just suck.
Now, you see, ordinarily listening to you, I'd say y'all are being silly because the bat's not a problem, but that's not true in this case. You should be worried about a bat because what'll happen is when you hit that bat, he'll grab you and he might bite you, and they do carry a lot of diseases.
Thanks.
So they really are dangerous.
I'm not going to talk you down, not today.
I won't be going out. I can't do the show anymore until the sun starts saying up past the time we get here. Oh my gosh.
On the other hand, they make bat boxes and stuff so you can attract them to your property because they eat so many bugs.
Yeah.
Well, bats aren't after people.
Right, it would be an accident.
It would be
a
when they were,
tragic-
if you trapped one in your house, that's when you get into trouble.
I don't know if I told this story before, but I remember when we were quarantining during COVID, and because I don't know, some Catherine tested positive or something, so she was locked upstairs and I was downstairs, and all of a sudden I get this text that a bat had gotten in up there where she was, and I felt
Deal
so
with it.
helpless, like I just felt so helpless.
You didn't,
But she ended up like, I wish she was here to tell this story because I forget how she did it. I just remember like getting pictures from up there, like text messages, and there was like a mattress propped up. There were blankets or whatever. She eventually got that thing. Oh, how did that story go? You have to tell us all the story when you come down after the show because I forget how she ended up catching that thing and getting it out of the house, but.
One of those stupid David Spade movies with Farley with the bats in the cabin. They had the two brooms
right,
and one
right.
of them's under the blanket. They're like, "You're being, it's getting me, it's getting me."
Yep, it was that.
Oh my gosh, bats.
Well, you know,
You have a great bat story.
I have a bat story.
Yep.
Oh, this is what you told me about, like on episode 4 or 5. I've been waiting 40 years, 40 episodes.
40
for this.
episodes, yeah.
I'm finally ready for it, huh?
Yeah, well, I can't do it right now. But,
Oh my gosh.
oh, no, I couldn't do it right now.
You're like Cher. I've been dragging this out
I
for
had
7
to go back
decades.
and remember it.
You have to remember it.
It's a long story. But I've had times when I couldn't remember it and I just make up a new one.
right.
So it's
Well, it's like we were talking about earlier. If you ever out there hear us repeating ourselves and we're covering the same thing again, we're just practicing. You gotta tell a story a bunch of times to get really good at telling a story, which is maybe a little bit hard on some of our nearest and dearest.
I think it's all right if they tell us gently that we've already told that one.
Right.
Because I think that's the only way we're going to learn when we're repeating ourselves.
Right.
And it could get worse if we don't address it right now. So I don't want, you're not hurting our feelings. Now, it depends on how you say it.
Right.
Yeah, you can say bless his heart in a lot of different ways.
I'm watching a fun show right now called I'm Dying Up Here. And it's about stand-up comedians in the 70s. It's good.
Man.
I'm enjoying it. But one of the themes definitely they've done good at showing just how many times they've had to tell that same joke. There's this one, like they'll pick a joke or whatever, and like there's this one guy I've heard tell this same joke so many times. But after a while, I don't know. It's just fascinating.
That's weird.
It is weird.
I was just thinking that's another beautiful thing about bars and drinking. You can have 6 guys that have all heard, my story. Nobody wants to hear my story again. But then a new guy comes and somebody goes, "Oh, tell him your story." Mm-hmm. So it gives you another chance to tell that same story that everybody else has already heard it, but they're busting out laughing too. Because it's if you just told them again, they'd be like, "All right, we've already heard this story." But then as soon as you get a new face, like, tell them the story. And we'll all take part in it. We can't wait. No, that's not what happened. It was nighttime you told us,
Next thing you know, all 5 of you are telling your story.
Yeah, it starts off you telling it, and at the end you're just sitting there and they're telling you what happened to you.
I guarantee you, 1 or 2 of those guys within 3 months will tell that story again, except their head's going to be where your head was. And they'll just make it their story.
It'll live on.
It'll become
100 years from now.
In 15 years, they'll believe that they actually did it.
Right.
And become that person.
Your bat story was sort of famous in school, right? Like
It was indeed.
students would come to you hearing about it from previous generations, like, oh, you got to get them to tell the bat story.
Yeah,
kind of
the
thing.
first day of school, at least one kid would say, this was when it had a good run. I don't know. I mean, I didn't do it every year I taught, but for 3 or 4 years, who knows? But there are some people out in the world that, if I say the bat story, know what I'm talking about, because it was a big hit, obviously.
Right.
I don't tell many stories like that, and it is interesting how they do. I know you're a storyteller and by nature, but they evolve.
Right.
Every
that's the
time you
thing.
tell it, you throw something in, or that might be more fitting now, and it just sounds funnier this way. And
Right.
yeah, you can. You have we could talk, an interesting thing there is doing that with your poetry and your songs or whatever, your work of art, to go back and toy with it. Now, I have a right to do that, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
I can play with it any way I want, but does it have a sacred nature to it over a length of time that says, this is what it is, and don't mess with me? Because there's some respect things are due that you need to, if that's what you believe in. So, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Did that make sense? Well, what do you think?
Well, I was just thinking about my. Wait, well, say it again. Make sure I'm following you.
Just that idea about whatever you're creating. Does it have an identity as a poem or a song that over a period of time it stands alone? That's a work of art. Be like something on the wall. Do you feel like it would be fair or to go back and add to it,
to a painting or something,
or
right?
to take a word out and put a comma there instead?
Right.
Does it have an integrity already that you have to respect, or is it just something between you and a piece of paper and it's all yours, and you can play with it any way you want?
Right.
And I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't.
If you know what I'm talking about, then you can try to answer it.
The first thing, well, I have a couple of ideas. But one of the first things that came to
Come on,
mind.
knucklehead. You can answer it.
I know, like, I have a bunch of songs that I've written in the past that never got much play because there's one line in it I didn't like. But I have found that I can never fix that.
Oh yeah, but I would say if you fix that line, you gotta fix everything around it.
I don't know what the law of physics or whatever that's at play there, but I've tried many times, and I can even see it. I'm like, I like that song a lot, except I don't like that verse or that line. Sometimes it's just a line, and if I could just fix that line, that would be a perfectly good song to have in the arsenal. But for some reason, and I read something from John Prine that it was very similar, and I know everybody has different writing styles, but for him, where the song comes to him, he has to finish it in that space. If he's sitting in this chair and the song comes to him, if he leaves this space, he's leaving behind the source of that. It's almost like a pipeline is dumping right here, right now, and if you don't fill the bucket, or you can't leave it and come back.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, but there's so many different styles, the way people do things.
Right.
I think that what might be a rule for one person won't necessarily apply to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I always think like you think about Hemingway and you think about how wild and crazy, but he had a rigorous writing schedule. 6 a.m. every morning to 10 or 11, he's writing, he's typing.
Right.
He's writing something down. Whether he knows anything or not, he's writing.
Right.
Yeah, he's busy.
I love that.
And
I wish I had more of that in me.
Well, that's just something I can only dream about. I would never think about doing that. It's just not my nature. I respect it, but I don't expect it of me.
Yeah, there's some people that, like James McMurtry is somebody I think of, that Brad Barr's like this too, where they will work for months on a song.
Wow.
Like they got an idea, and they're like an architect. They're building it
That's
methodically.
exactly what they are.
Whereas you got a Bob Dylan or something where it's all lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Two very different personalities.
Yeah.
Probably all kinds of gradations in between.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I was thinking about this when y'all were talking, but then something else came into my mind. But like a good story, just because I like to write. If people tell me a good story, I just remember a good story. So when my family was up, my nephew and his girlfriend were hanging out, and we were drinking and carrying on. I just got on a roll, telling some stories. And finally she said, and these weren't stories about me, just funny stuff that happened to other people. She's like, the way you're telling these stories, they happened to you, didn't they? I'm like, no, because I was making fun of people, like the dumb shit they did. They're like, these happened to you, didn't they? They're like, no, they really didn't happen to me. She goes, the way you're telling it, this is you. I'm like, no. But then I started thinking, like the Hallelujah movie that you performed at, how those people can take his song and turn it completely into their song. Like Rufus Wainwright or the Buckley or whatever. That's like they somehow take somebody else's song and it just becomes like their spirit comes into it or something comes into it.
It's like alchemy or something. I love how profound that can be too, because there are people that made their whole career based on their interpretation of someone else's thing, but it just was such a perfect fit that some exponential magic came out of it. It'd be a fun list to make examples of that.
Give me one.
Well, Buckley, Hallelujah, was a great example. Jeff Buckley, like that put him on the map to a certain extent, and that song, like there was this little known Leonard Cohen song on a record that the record execs decided wasn't good enough to be released in America. Remember that part from that documentary? Yeah. Still, we have the record upstairs. Just listened to it the other night. But then Jeff Buckley found it and he performed it, and then the rest is history. We all know that song and Jeff Buckley because of that.
But I was thinking about how that song becomes like everybody.
You remember that you played me that for the first time I ever heard it.
I know what you're talking about. I just never had thought about it like that.
But it's like, watching the movie, or just if I'm sitting at home listening to music and you feel like you're like the outsider looking in, just appreciating it. And you did such a wonderful, when you played it and you said everybody sing along with me. It was like the first time I'd ever felt like I was actually inside the song, taking part in it. So I wasn't just sitting back in awe of the song. When you were like, everybody sing with me, I was like, oh my God, we're actually part of the creation of this song right now. That was a beautiful feeling. I thought that was great.
Oh, I love that. I definitely, another thing I was thinking about when you were talking about that was how one of the things I think really held me back as a storytelling, joking troubadour was that I found it very hard to do the same joke twice, and to tell that. And I tried even with some. There's some bits I had that I would do sort of repeatedly, but it wasn't a strength of mine. Whereas all, like from Arlo Guthrie to Todd Snyder, all the storytelling troubadours, they tell the same story every night, the same jokes in the same place, and it all seems extemporaneous. It feels spontaneous because they're that good at it. You feel like he's sharing something with you special or whatever, and it blows your mind when you do the drive the next night to see the show again. You're like, oh, none of that was off the cuff last night like I thought it was. It feels off the cuff. But Todd Snyder in his book even talks about that, about practicing the stories he would tell over and over and over again. His girlfriend or whatever, just walking around the track, just, all right, do it again, do it again, do it again. You just tell the story over and over because you need a rhythm. I mean, like a good storyteller, there's There's turns of phrases, there's segues, there's analogies, but more importantly, there's a rhythm.
Yeah, the pause.
The pause, yeah. And to get that rhythm, it's not going to just come out of. You're going to have to tell that story 100 times.
That's true. You're exactly right.
Oh my goodness, it's 8:34.
Good Lord.
We did it again. Time travel. Yay! Go team. All right, leaving song time. Thank you so much for watching
That's
out there.
right.
We love you so much. Thank you, Kyle.
Oh,
Thanks,
thank you. I
Dad.
had a good time tonight. It was good to be back with y'all.
It's good to be back in the saddle.
Yeah, it's nice to see y'all again. Where'd y'all go anyway? I was down here every night and I ain't seen nobody.
What's going on here?
What the hell?
He's been down here practicing this talk for 3 weeks now. He's got it right down.
Tell me when we're going live.
I pulled in to the harbor, so fast I ran aground. Now thanks to the rising flood water, I can turn this ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. Once you've gone away for a long time, time speeds up when you're slowing down. It's not true what they say, but they ain't lying. I can turn this ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. I can turn the ship around. It's a hard pill to swallow. Nothing to wash it down. Nothing, no one to follow. I can turn this ship around. Everybody, I can turn this ship around. 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 See you next time.
Wait, I need 30 seconds.
All right.
I gotta apologize to somebody. I offended somebody.
You did?
Like 3 weeks ago.
Oh.
Two of my friends were watching the show together, and all of a sudden one of them pointed and said, "I hate Kyle's shoes." I was wearing my old Converse, so I got rid of the Converse. I'm not wearing them tonight. So I'm sorry the show was ruined by my shoes.
Well, you should be. It's just unacceptable. See you next time.
Good night. Be good. Whew,
That was fun.
I reckon.
That was good. I like that show.
I lost my pipe tobacco there.
Oh, goodness.
So you see it anywhere? Oh, there it is right there. God damn it. But that anyway. Oh, Lord. I am out.
My friend actually